3. Josh Allen has never lost 3 games in a row as the Bills quarterback. Let's get a sense from Sal here. Sal, your sense of the vibes. I mean, is it kind of par for the course after 2 losses? I mean, even from 4-0 and everybody feeling at least pretty good about what the Bills looked like. It's been kind of, what would you say, Bulldog? I mean, it's been bumpy in here since since the Atlanta game.
It's been tense. Yeah, it's been tense. Sal, I'm sure you're getting that on the times you're in on the Extra Point show and just, minding the social medias.
Yeah, I mean, good afternoon, guys. Good to talk with you again. But it's no different or more tense than maybe it has been each of the last 6 years they've lost 2 games in a row, right? I mean, this is what happens. They lose a couple games, and people really have oh my God, what's happening? It's not full-on panic necessarily with most people. Some it is, but that's the job of a fan to maybe be emotional and overreact. And we're monitoring and seeing where they are right now, engaging the temperature. And I would say, the difference here is you have this bye. You go back and you try and see what, you've done or need to do, and teams are doing against you. And I got that sense today. Sean McDermott, he talked a lot today when he spoke with us about having clarity of where they need to go, what they need to do. And, I think that this team is well positioned organizationally to handle moments like these, which are the consistency that has to go along with the everyday approach, because that's kind of how they operate. But they still have to go out there and do it, obviously.
What are a couple of areas where, if McDermott or the Bills didn't say so themselves, you think should have been a point of emphasis here in the last week?
Well, they didn't say it themselves, but I would tell you, I think they have to really look at why they're having struggles, stopping the run, obviously. That's number one on defense. We'll take that side of the ball first. Stopping the run on defense, why that's been an issue, what they need to do. I do think availability has been an issue there, even as much as the game on Monday night. Losing Daquan Jones before the game started was not ideal. Deion Walker's playing like 80% of your snaps, right? And you can't have that. But I also think, angles and tackling, the tackling's been an issue. Those are the things that, drive a coach crazy, which are things that you should be able to handle on your own as a football player. Yes, you teach tackling, you go over it, but those are things since you're a little kid. Lining up off sides, details. Sean McDermott said today, and he's right, detail and discipline. Detail and discipline lead to better execution, and he's right. And that they have not been detailed and they have not been disciplined in that regard. I think being able to, identify where guys are, receivers, and attack the football, things like that, like in the secondary, being a little bit more, to me, intentional about attacking the football is something I think they have to figure out how they want to be, how they want to play, what they want to do right there. On the offensive side, I think something that's hurt them the last few games has been teams. Basically, it's the same thing we talked about last year in the two-game losing streak they had, which was when that happened, to me, what I saw is the same thing I'm seeing now. Teams are coming after Josh Allen and daring the Bills to beat them on the outside, and they can't. And the Bills have to have a better answer for that. And that's got to start with, figuring out how to combat the pass rush. That's offensive line, and that is Aaron Kromer. And they'll do all their due diligence on that. And that's got to be schemed from Joe Brady and coming up with answers on how to combat that and where to go when those things happen. And then it comes down to the players winning battles as well and trying to get themselves to a spot where they can free themselves up.
What is the likelihood on this last point about winning on the outside that the self-scouting could result in them as a staff? Like, I don't know who would do this, if it's McDermott that would go to Bean or they would just, email one another. I don't know. Like, we've been over it and we need a guy. We need another guy. Like, how, I don't know, is that insane to think that would have happened during this week, or is it maybe right on the nose?
I don't think it's insane. I think the issue is finding a trade partner and also having the cap space. Like, that's just, those are two real life barriers, right, to doing something like that. You can make a trade. They did last year for Amari Cooper. You can go out and do that. You better have a team. You got to have a team, first of all, that's willing to trade with you. And, what kind of asset are you willing to give up? And is that player worth that asset? You don't want to overpay, obviously. Now, I understand people say heck with the picks and just go and you have this window. I understand all that, and to a point I understand. I agree with that. Like go get whatever you need, but you can't be spending first round picks on Rashid Shaheed, right? You just can't. For an example, that's just something you can't do. That would be negligent by Brandon Beane to do something like that. He's not going to do it. Then you have to have the cap space, and they don't. They have what, $2 million, maybe $3 million in cap space. You have to have a player that you could fit under the cap. So the financials are a big part of that, but it's not just looking at himself scouting Bulldog and saying, we need a guy. You're right about that, but it also adds to it that Joshua Palmer is out right now.
Right.
And he's week to week. And if you're going to have an answer, he's one of the answers, and he's not available right now.
Right. I think that only increases the urgency out here that fans are feeling to, like, get another guy. If you wanted another guy while Palmer was healthy, plenty of people did before he got hurt in the Atlanta game, then there's going to be all that more urgency. I wonder how willing, I don't know, the machinations of a trade and the financial, technicalities of it and the realities of it. I wonder if they would be willing to pay up in a pick to get a team to eat salary. Like, I'm thinking about Olave as an example.
Right.
And whatever that's going to cost, can I go up around and have you take, make the money work for me, right? I don't have the room for maybe all that he's due, but if you keep it, I'll throw in an extra third. Or if you wanted to, I'll give you a 1, like that kind of thing. I wonder if they have the appetite for that.
I mean, you could certainly try that. Let's remember the rules in the NFL, though. This is not like the NHL where a team just says, well, we'll just assume the salary. You can't do that. You'd have to literally physically make a new deal with the guy. And you'd have to basically and I'm sure the player would probably be amenable to that if he's going to a situation where it's better for him, right? Where you'd have to redo the contract and say, okay, yeah, I'll do that, and you guys can take money up front now and kind of pay me in a different form, and that way only my base salary goes to my new team, in this case, the Buffalo Bills, right? You can't just do it in a same traditional way that we see in the NHL. Oh, they're retaining 50% of the salary. Like, that just doesn't work in the NFL. You can't do something like that. So, yes, I do think that that's something you could look into. I just don't know how practical it is.
Yeah.
Sal, Dalton Kincaid limited again?
Yeah, limited, but I mean, like, I don't want to really dwell on the limited guys today too much. Like, I know it's right. We have to talk about them, but it's the first day back. He practiced today. So did Matt Milano. So did Terrell Bernard. It's the first day back. It's a Wednesday. So I just think that, like, the guys who were limited today, yes, I know he was limited all that week and he didn't play, but I think that giving those guys that week and then a whole nother week probably trends pretty well towards them playing. So until tomorrow, when we see what they look like and, what they're doing out there and if they're limited or not, and they might be limited all week, all these guys, for all I know, I kind of get the feeling that a lot of those guys, including Kincaid, will be on the field on Sunday.
All right, that's good to know. He's been a talking point here during this break. He was strong against New England, big night, even though he didn't play all the time, but he had numbers against the Patriots and then missed the Falcons game. And just like it's kind of always been, there's a faction of people who think like a lot rides on him. And I wonder if that's where we are. I'm not sure I'm really comfortable in that chair, thinking that a lot of this, like the outcome here this year, depends on Dalton Kincaid, but you'd certainly like him to be on the field and producing. How important is he for you to this?
Incredibly important, especially if Joshua Palmer's out. But I think they really missed Dalton Kincaid Monday night against Atlanta. I think it was a huge loss for them. Joshua Palmer getting hurt really doubled down on that. I thought he was a big part of their game plan. It showed it on the first play, 45 yards. Then he has another 15-yard catch. The guy had 60 yards before halftime, and then he got hurt on that play. So I think both those guys, but not having Dalton Kincaid was a huge part of why they had the issues they had against pass protection and not having answers early after the snap, because that's a guy that you can rely on in the middle of the field. Hot reads, you see guys coming. If you're going to vacate the middle of the field because you're bringing pressure, that's where you can find Dalton Kincaid a lot of times, right? So I do think he's very, very important. Now, if they don't have Joshua Palmer, they do have a couple guys in the practice squad, but even then I don't think you would lean there, because I think that means more it's Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, and Jackson Hawes. They have 6 receivers on the roster. So if they don't have Joshua Palmer, you can roll with 5. They've done that. And then you just lean more into 13 personnel. And then to go what you just asked, Mike, if you lean more into 13 personnel, you're going to rely more on Dalton Kincaid to have a heavier lift than what he's expected to be and do.
Yeah, if the rest of those receivers are all healthy, then you just don't. Because really what's been happening is Moore and Samuel have been taking turns basically being inactive. And if they're healthy, then both of those guys dress, and that replaces Palmer, I think, in the end. What's the realistic timeline? Do you have a sense of what a realistic timeline is for Maxwell Hairston at this point, Sal?
So my realistic timeline was always the Miami game. He gets his 21-day window opened this week. That window puts him at right after the Miami game. Like, you could literally wait till the day after the Miami game and say, okay, now he's, back on the 53. So, but realistically, to me, it was he practices this week, doesn't play. Practices next week, doesn't play against Kansas City. Practices again, they activate him Saturday night before Miami. He's on the field against Miami. To me, that's realistic. I got to tell you, though, I went out there today and watched him. I want to stop myself short of being too ambitious about that because I thought he looked really good the way he moved. I mean, you guys can see the video if you haven't yet already. You can catch it on my X feed, and fans commenting too, like, "Oh my God, he looks so fast." He did. I mean, he looked fluid. He looked good. But it's really his second day. They did practice earlier this week, but there was no media, so it's really just his second day back. Sean McDermott was asked today, and his response is about, how much of it is mental. And you have to really keep this in mind, right? It's not just the physical part.
Right.
McDermott basically said it's at least 50% of it is the mental part of being on the field and the defense. And, yeah, you can get all those reps mentally and watch it. And Max Hairston said, he, for his part, that was very valuable for him. He got in the playbook. He understood everything. But putting that into use on the field when everything's flying around so fast, that's a different deal. So I think all of that has to come into play here.
And do we know, I've been assuming that Hoecht and Ogunjobi would just go right back into the lineup as soon as their suspensions are up. Is that the case? Did McDermott say it that plainly, or is it we'll see how they get through the week?
He basically said we'll see, but I think that's more of a let's make sure with conditioning everything's good, that they're where they need to be. I'd be stunned if they don't play. I mean, if they don't play, there's something went wrong there to me. There's no reason for them not to. They have been at the facility for the last 3 weeks. They've been conditioning. They've been lifting weights. They've been doing all the things they can do other than practice, essentially. So to me, they're and by the way, I mean, as you guys know, they went through a whole preseason. They went through a whole training camp. They got a lot of reps. I would be really stunned, especially with Daquan Jones being week to week. Larry Ogunjobi has to play. What if Daquan Jones, assuming he doesn't play, you have Ed Oliver and Deion Walker. That's it. Larry Ogunjobi is your third guy, and then you still have to elevate somebody or sign somebody from the practice squad. And then Michael Hoecht, to me, he's just a guy that you need on the field to help you with everything that's been going wrong because he can allow you to kind of be more versatile and put guys in different positions to kind of have different options on defense.
We haven't talked about Taylor Rapp here at all, but that was new today. I feel like, right?
DNP.
And how I don't know, is Poyer getting elevated to the active roster the pivot here because Hamlin's already on IR, right?
Yeah. So let's start with Rapp, and then I'll get into the roster gymnastics of all this. So Rapp, apparently it's been something he's been dealing with since about training camp. Maybe Sean McDermott said he's been dealing with all year. His knee. And at the end of the Miami game, I think I mentioned this to you guys when I was on with you, he did come off the field at the end, but it was so late, we didn't get official report on him. You know what I mean? So but he did come off the field. Now, remember earlier in the game, Bishop came off the field, and Jordan Poyer went on for him, and I thought he played well. And he stabilized the defense, actually. I thought he did a good job in the second half. And then Bishop went back, but then very late, Taylor Rapp came off the field, and Poyer went back on. So now we find out DNP. And what's concerning about his particular case is McDermott said they don't know if it's day to day or week to week right now.
Right.
That's something they're, still going through. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, the natural, I think, spot there would be for Jordan Poyer to then play. But he's on the practice squad, so you could do it two ways. You could elevate him. He has 2 elevations remaining. Or you could simply sign him. Guys, they have 1 open roster spot. And this is where I'm thinking about the roster gymnastics in my mind. Now, I don't know if this is the plan, but something that I think is very much an option here is you have Gabe Davis sitting there as a practice squad injured player. If you guys remember when they signed Gabe Davis, they had to release Jordan Poyer for a day. And the reason they had to do that was you're only allowed a certain number of veterans on the practice squad. Well, if Gabe Davis were to come back and start practicing, you'd be over that maximum again. So to me, you put Jordan Poyer on the 53, that opens that one spot up where you don't have to worry about that. Gabe Davis starts practicing. So you could do that. And even if that's next week, you could do something like that with him. However, the other part about this is because of the defensive tackle situation and the fact that Zion Logue is out of elevations but still on the practice squad, maybe he's the guy that gets signed to the 53-man roster because you can't elevate him, and then you can still use 2 elevations and one could be on Jordan Poyer.
We've had a couple calls about Davis in the interim here. How playable an idea for you is he as someone who could really matter here coming up? Like, he's not officially healthy yet, I guess. Right. I guess a short way of asking this is Gabe Davis on your mind?
He is, not because I think Gabe Davis is some sort of savior, but I think Gabe Davis, what he means and why they brought him back to this organization, what they feel about him, which is somebody who can come in, understands everything he's supposed to do. He can play in all situations. He can be a blocker. He's available for Josh Allen and scrim. He's been very good at that in his career, which is when Josh is moving around, he's a guy that, he finds Gabe Davis on the sidelines. Remember the Indianapolis Colts catches in Miami in the snow, and that's just the role he's played. And I think considering where you are at wide receiver, you probably need you're going to need somebody. And I know everybody wants the 4-3 guy. That's fine. And I'm not disagreeing with that. And that's not Gabe Davis. But I do think Gabe Davis can matter here by the end of the year.
All right, the big one before we run out of time here. If the Bills say were to lose in Carolina, what video games and other playtime things are there in the locker room that would probably have to go? I'm wondering if they've actually built an arcade into the new stadium adjacent to the locker room. And if it goes badly, which you do easily, of course, Bulldog, you take all the toys out and you replace everything with books. But not just any books, only the Bills playbook. All the books would be the Bills playbook. So we know guys would, get serious for once.
So they do have a ping pong table that is widely used. I mean, these guys, they play ping pong a lot. You walk in the locker room, ping pong table is bam, bam, bam. They're going at it. They're playing it there. Okay.
I remember Ed Oliver was playing with a boot on.
Yes. Right. That's when we saw him, like, he's playing ping pong with a boot on, right? Like, okay, that's interesting. Then he got in a scooter and he rode away. Okay. They also have, by the way, a putting hole, like one of those things where you just putt on the little strip right there, right? They have one of those that happens, and guys can grab the putter every once in a while. They also have a bubble hockey game. I don't know if you guys know that. They have a bubble hockey game inside the locker room. Although I will say, I don't know if I ever can remember someone playing the bubble hockey game.
Because they don't have any quarters.
That's right. Maybe not, but they do have a bubble hockey game, and they have cornhole. And I do see guys playing cornhole against each other once in a while. Like they'll just be there and tossing it, and it's not like it's not as far as you'd get maybe at your Saturday barbecue outing.
Not regulation.
They do have that, but no, that's right. But they do have that. So those are things that they have. I don't know the video game. Yeah, I think there has to be. If I remember years past, I haven't seen it this year, but in years past, I've seen guys like have a console hooked up to one of the TVs inside the locker room. So I think you have the ability to do that. But who knows? Maybe with the new stadium and the new locker rooms, that'll be something a little bit more readily available, I think.
What do you think here with the Ravens? I mean, it's so cliche where your team, your season is getting away from you. You just take out all the games, like
but it was the players, the veteran players' decision. So it's all good.
Let's get serious, and then they win a bunch, and then the ping pong table comes back, and then they lose a couple, and it goes.
Does that prevent players from being injured? Because that's been the issue with the Baltimore Ravens.
That's what I was.
Are they getting hurt?
Are they getting injured playing the video games?
Right.
Now, if that's the case, then I'm all for taking it out, right? But I don't think that's the case.
Right.
If they're putting, they're getting hurt putting.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it really is laughable, the Ravens thing, isn't it? Just
yes,
of course, the poor ping pong table. Where does it go? Did they donate it to somebody? Like, where does the ping pong table is it just like out at the side of the one Ravens Drive?
Right.
It's just at the road.
No, it's
probably got a logo on. It's purple, and it's just sitting there sadly at the road.
There's some grizzled old like equipment manager type guy there, facilities maintenance manager who's been there longer than Harbaugh. Like, he's been there since the franchise came back to Baltimore, and he just put it in storage because it'll be back.
Storage.
Just put it over here. It'll be back next year, or the new coach, whatever. Just
new stadium.
I got a spot for it. I know where to put it. Just fold it up, and we'll leave it over here.
Bad luck ping pong table.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, shout out real quick to Matt Bove. I knew you guys would ask me the question about what's in the locker room. I said I don't want to be wrong on this. What is exactly in the locker room? And he got me to all the things that we had to. It's like one of those. You go on. Speaking of video games, you have to find the clues, find the picture, something hidden in the picture, right? When you go to the bar and you put it in. Like, I'm like, Matt, what? Oh yeah, that's right. That's where I said I know they have the bubble hockey, and I'm like, oh yeah. He reminded me about the putting hole as well.
All right, good.
Also, they have sorry. For when it rains.
I'm sure they probably have a way to do those things, but I do remember last year, Amari Cooper, after he signed, like, he would be on his phone playing chess. Like, you could see that. He was on his phone. He's playing chess. He would just sit in a little lounge chair, and he'd be on his phone playing chess. So they'd sit on their phones. They play some games, too. It's not just the video games you have to put in the lockers or on the console on the TV.
I'm glad you mentioned, Matt. It was nice sitting with the two of you after your event at the Buffalo Old Brewery last Thursday. I didn't realize until just now that that's the last time I talked to you. So
oh yeah,
it's been a little while.
Great seeing you. It was a great turnout. Thanks for coming out.
That was a really good scene out there. Yeah, man.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Sal. I guess tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll talk tomorrow, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a great night.
All right. That's Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
I love thinking about the Bills playing board games.